Hey, welcome everybody. Here we're starting our 1976 replay of the New York Yankees season, and it starts off against the Brewers at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Now, the reason I chose this season to replay it's that it was my first season of APBA ever, and it takes me back to my early teen years, living in Queens, New York, at the house my parents had at 74th Street. And I had a garage that was converted, and that was my room at the time. It was divided in half. So you had one area where you had the TV and desk and so on, and the other area had a bed. So, and that's where I did a lot of my rolling. My APBA rolling for the first days. I'd read sporting news and watch The Odd Couple and read the box scores from the New York Times and the New York Post at the time. That's how you got the information on the ball players. And I somehow, in one of the ads, I ordered APBA, and I got it, and I started rolling, and I started off with the 1976 season. Now, it was during the 77 year. It was the 76 season, so I was having fun watching the Yanks in 77. And I was also rolling for 76, which was a little bit different. Their team was a little bit different. They didn't have Reggie Jackson in 76, right? But they did have Catfish Hunter. I think they got Catfish Hunter in 75. But anyway, what happened to me with my first season rolling the 1976 Yankees was that I was unaware of the mechanics or the mechanisms that drove APBA. Didn't know anything about it. I kept all the stats for all the players. And in my first series and my second series and my third series and my fourth series throughout the season, I would always pull the three top pitchers on that yellow roster sheet. So I was unaware that the Yanks were always facing the A's, the B's, mostly, and I couldn't understand throughout the season their batting average and their home runs and so forth were just very low, and everybody was batting around 200. If I had a guy up around 260, that was a miracle, and I just couldn't understand it why everybody was batting so low. When everything I heard about APBA was that it was very realistic and all the players actually batted, and then I started reading the APBA magazine. I can't remember what that was called, and guys would talk about their seasons and how they were almost identical, batting 340, batting 360, batting 320, and my guys, I couldn't get them to bat over 200. Didn't understand. I played the whole season, and I saved it in a notebook for years and years and years. But in the last 10, 15 years, with the crash, I ended up having to move very quickly, and we sold the property quickly, and we got out, and I put stuff in storage, and we trekked some stuff over to some family's house. Anyway, I lost that. In the last 10 years, I lost that notebook with my original stats from that season, the 1976 season. And I think it was a year later, I don't know when, I realized, wow, okay, the reason they were batting so low, the Yankees were batting so low, was that they were always facing A and B pitchers. Because I never really just shuffled the lineups, because at that time I couldn't track down who started what game. Whereas I can do that today, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be keeping all the stats, and I'm going to be actually replaying using the actual lineups and the actual starting pitchers. So this ought to be a lot more fun than when I did it the first time and I didn't know what I was doing. So it's going to be APBA today, and it's Slayton versus Jim Catfish Hunter. Now, I got a great set of 76 for, I think, I don't know, $30. And it's one of these huge sets that the company sells for $100. So I'm really, really excited. It's like brand new, great condition. I put them all in sleeves. So this was my first, of course, I didn't have this set with the stats and so on. My first set was the original, right? But with 20 cards, and then you have to get the XPs and all that. But this came with about 30 players, I think, per team. So it's great. I'll be able to do a very realistic replay. Now, for this game, there were 2 guys I had to pull from other teams. One from the Yanks, Dempsey, who was traded to Baltimore during the course of the season, but he starts off with the Yanks. And the other guy I pulled was a guy named Pedro Garcia, who ended up, I think, with Detroit. So I tracked those guys down. I pulled those from there, the teams they go to later, because they start off the season with these teams. And this is game 1, and we're ready to roll. So this is going to go by pretty quick because APBA is pretty quick, and I know it pretty well. So we're going to fly by here. It's going to be John Milton Mick the Quick Rivers. Here's the pitch from Slayton. Slayton's a B. And that's a 52, and that's going to be a ground out to the third baseman, Don Money. He's a Gold Glove style first baseman, and he throws out Rivers by a step. Boy, that Rivers can really get down the line. All right, here is Roy White. It's a 16, and that's chopped to the shortstop. Robin Yount, a young Robin Yount, comes in and feels it and throws out White for out number 2. And here's the late squatty Thurman Munson, who died in a plane crash in 1979, August. Very, very sad. 35, and that's a line drive base hit for Thurman Munson. So Munson's on with a single. And it's going to be Chris Chambliss. Let's have some fun with this little dice roller. 41, and that's going to be a 24, and that's going to be a fielder's choice for the third out. So the Yanks leave 1, and at the end of half an inning of play, no score, the Brewers are coming to bat. Now the Brewers are going to start off with a catcher who's playing left field today. His name is Charlie Moore. And it's going to be Jim Catfish Hunter pitching to Moore. Don't have to do this with APBA, but I am, just so you can see the pitcher. And I know there's some glare as well. Let me try to get rid of the glare there. There we go. We're much better. All right, there we go. 53, and that's a 21. The first baseman is a 5. And that's going to be a ball that gets through the infield into right field, and that's going to be a single for Charlie Moore. So Charlie Moore's on with a single. It's going to be Don Money. And that's a 12. It's going to be a grounder hit at Randolph. He flips to the shortstop Mason over to first, double play. It's 4-6-3 double play, 2 outs. And George Scott. That's a fly ball lifted to right field. Right fielder Gamble, he's over for the third out. So after 1, no score. Yankees are coming to bat. Yankees are going to start off the inning. Oscar Gamble. And that's a ground ball back to the pitcher. And Slayton feels his position, 1 away. And that's a 0, so we go to the double column. So this is hammered to right field, and that's going to be in the gap, and Nettles is going to make it to second base standing up. So 1 out. Nettles is on at second. Nettles is going to play it safe on a single. He's not going to score because I think he's average speed, so he will try to score. And that's a 51, and that's going to be a 10 with a runner on second against a B pitcher. And that ball says it's a single to right, runner to third. Wait, that's when the runner on first. So against a B pitcher, it's an out. It's a ground ball hit right at Don Money. Money looks, Nettles back to second and rifles it over to first for the second out. And now it's going to be Rick Dempsey. He's the one I had to pull from Baltimore. He goes to Baltimore eventually. And that's going to be an 11. And that's going to be a line drive base hit. And around third comes Nettles to score an RBI single by Rick Dempsey. And the Yanks are on the board first. 1-0 here in the top of the second inning. The last batter is going to be Jim Mason. A very non-spectacular player. 62, and that's a fly ball lifted to left. Left fielder Moore measures it, and that's a third out. But the Yanks pick up 1 run on 2 hits, and at the end of 1.5, they lead at 1-0. Here we go to the bottom of the second. And in the bottom of the second is going to be Darryl Porter facing Jim Catfish Hunter. Jim Catfish Hunter was 17-15 with a 3.53 ERA. It's 55. It's going to be a fly ball center field. Mick the Quick is over. Makes the catch. Here's Henry Aaron. This is his last year. Hammerin' Hank Aaron. We got a chance to play with him. It's a 29, and that's going to be a ground ball to the first baseman. First baseman flips to Hunter covering for out number 2. And it's going to be 6 to Lescano. And that's a hard hit ground ball right at the shortstop. Mason takes his time and throws him out. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the top of the third now. Game's moving right along. See if we can, let's see if we can do something a little bit different to make him move a little bit faster. Okay, if I hold him, it'll be a little bit faster. So it's going to be Mick the Quick here in the top of the third inning. 1-0 Yanks. Okay, it's a 15. That's going to be a line drive base hit, and the Quick is always a danger to steal. So Slayton's aware of that. He's going to throw over. Slayton sets, and there goes Rivers, and that's a stolen base safe underneath the tag, and it's Roy White, the batter. Slayton was 14-15 with a 3.44 ERA. That's a 33. That's going to take us to a double column, so that ball's hammered for a 3. He's a B pitcher. That ball's hit deep to left field. Going back is the left fielder Moore to the track, to the fence, and that's gone. A 2-run home run by Roy White scores Rivers ahead of him, and the Yankees now lead it 3-0. I know Slayton would like that pitch back, and that's a fly ball lifted to center field. Center fielder Lescano's there for out number 1. Chris Chambliss. It's a ground ball hit right back at Slayton. Slayton a few steps towards first, underhands it, 2 out. And now it's Oscar Gamble who's 0 for 1. Oscar Gamble batted .232 but hit 17 home runs and only .340 at bats. So if you double that, he would have been in line to hit 34 home runs. So it's a 64, and that's a ground ball hit to the first baseman, and first baseman flips to Slayton covering for out number 3. But here in the top of the third, the Yanks pick up 2 runs on 2 hits. The home run by Roy White, and they lead it by a score of 3-0. It's going to be Sharp, Bill Sharp, the right fielder. Sharp batted .244 with no home runs and 180 at bats. 24, and that's going to be a 29. It's going to be a comebacker right at Catfish. Robin Yount now. Fly ball lifted to center. Mick measures it. 2 out. And it's Pedro Garcia. And that's a 26. And that's a ground ball hit right at Nettles. Over to first. Gets him by a step. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the top of the 4th. We are rolling now. Jim Slayton is going to face Nettles, Randolph, and Dempsey. Nettles doubled his last time at bat, and he grounds out here to the shortstop. Yount, 1 away. Randolph. And that's stroked into the gap in left center field. And Randolph hustles around first, and here's the throw to second. He's safe in under the tag with a double, a 1-out double in the top of the 4th. And it's going to be Dempsey. Dempsey singled home a run earlier in the game. He's 1 for 1 with an RBI. And here's the pitch from Slayton to Dempsey, and that's lifted to right. Ask me if Randolph is the right fielder is a 2. Let's see if a fast runner can. Nope. So it's lifted to right for the 2nd out. That's sharp out there. And Randolph goes back to second. It's going to be Jim Mason now. Jim Mason's not much of a hitter. Batted 180. That's right, 180. And he grounds to the third baseman, who throws him out for the 3rd out. And the Yanks lead 1. And we go to the bottom of the 4th, 3-0 Yanks. It's going to be Jim Catfish Hunter. Going to face the top of the order, Charlie Moore, Don Money, and George Scott. Now, Charlie Moore batted 191. Why he's leading off is beyond me. I guess it's because it's the first game of the season, right? Until they figure out he's batting 191, and then he doesn't play that much anymore. Dig the stadium dice box. Yeah, right? It's really cool. Let me push it back just a little bit so you can see more of it. There you go. So 42, and that's a strikeout, swing and a miss for Charlie Moore, and that's Catfish's first strikeout. 1 away. Don Money, say 56, and that's a swing and a miss. Strike 2. I'm strikeout number 2 for Catfish, and that's a ground ball hit at the shortstop, Mason. And he throws him out. Out number 3. 3 up, 3 down again for Catfish. We go to the top of the 5th. 3-0 Yanks. Slayton, Rivers. Here is the pitch to Rivers. Top of the order for the Yanks. A 42. And that's a ball hit up the middle and through to center field for a base hit. Mick the Quick is 2 for 3. Now, Mick the Quick batted .312 with 8 home runs. So he had an outstanding season for the Yanks. Here's going to be Roy White. Roy White's going to bunt, and that's going to be a successful bunt. Over to second goes the Quick. And Squatty Munson, Thurman Munson, all-star catcher for the Yanks for during the 70s. Died in I think it was a plane crash, a small plane crash in Pennsylvania in August of 1979. And that's a 23, and that's a slow grounder to the second baseman. Garcia throws out Munson. To third goes Rivers, so there's 2 outs, and Rivers is on at third. It's going to be Chris Chambliss, who batted .293 with 96 RBIs. And that's 37 with a runner on third. What does that mean? 37 is going to be a pop-up to the right side, and George Scott, I don't know, is it George Scott? I believe it's George Scott. Or was that the actor? Well, Scott at first base, he's going to make the call. And that's out number 3. So the Yanks lead 1 here in the top of the 5th. They lead at 3-0. All right, there goes the Yanks. And Scott is George the Boomer Scott, so I was right. Okay, it wasn't just the actor. It's also the baseball player. One guy's a black guy, one guy's a white guy. Just to play the race card, since we are using cards. Okay, Darrell Porter, 53, and that's a ground ball. Hit softly to Randolph, and Randolph boots it. So Porter's on base with an error by Randolph. And here's Aaron. And that's a ground ball hit at shortstop. Hustling to second is Porter. The throw to first, one away. 6 to Lescano, one out. Porter's on at second. Now Porter will play it safe. I believe he's, oh no, he's average. Everybody's an average. Even the catchers were average speed. Okay, I'm trying to get this. Here's Lescano. And that's a 12 with a runner on second. With a runner on second at 25 is a line out to the second baseman, Randolph. 2 away. And it's going to be Bill Sharp. Bill Sharp bats .244 in 76, and that's a 36, and that's a pop-up. To the shortstop. Mason calls it, and that's a third out. So the Brewers leave one runner on base, and we go to the top of the 6th, 3-0 Yanks. Slayton is still in there. These pitchers went, these pitchers would pitch 250 innings, 290 innings. Slayton has 292 innings pitched. So they were pitching complete games. Hey there, Gary. That's a ground ball to shortstop. And that's the young Robin Yount. Throws out Gamble. Nettles is 1 for 2 with a double and scored a run. It's a 23. It's a ground ball back to Slayton. Slayton fields his position, 2 away. And it's Willie Randolph. Randolph is 1 for 2 with a double. And that's a 26. That's a ground ball to the third baseman. Money over to first. Gets him by a step. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the bottom of the 6th, 3-0 Yanks. The Catfish. I should be using the little dice cup, but I left it in the other room. My son and I were playing a 2016 St. Louis Cardinal versus Cincinnati Red 3-game series. It's tied at 1 apiece. Here's Robin Yount. Super kid, they called him. 22. That's a line drive base hit for Robin Yount. That's one. That's a second hit allowed by Catfish. So Yount is on at first, and it's going to be Pete Garcia. What inning is this? This is the bottom of the 6th, so it may be a little bit too late to bunt. But I don't know that that's true. He's going to bunt 35, and that's a foul ball. He's going to bunt again at 24. There's a 29. That's going to be a fielder's choice. So out number 1. So Garcia fails to advance the runner. To be Charlie Moore. And that's a 22, but an 8. An 8 is going to be an out with a B pitcher with a runner on first. It's a ground ball to Nettles. Nettles has no chances. Second over to first. The second out, and goes into second is Pedro Garcia. Here's Don Money. Don Money batted .267 with 12 home runs. And that's going to be a line drive caught by Randolph at second for the third out. So the Brewers lead 1 here in the bottom of the 6th. Score none. We go to the top of the 7th. Now, Catfish Hunter started as a B. If he goes one more inning as a B, he becomes an A pitcher for the 8th and 9th innings. So it's going to be Catfish facing, Slayton facing Dempsey, Mason, and Rivers. Dempsey's 1 for 2. And that's a ground ball to Money. Money throws him out, 1 away. 31 is a 23. Don't know what that is. 23. That's an unusual number. And that's going to be a ball that's hit to center field. And it's dropped by the center fielder Lescano. And that's going to be an E8. So Mason is on due to an error by the center fielder Lescano. So 1 away. Here's Rivers, 35, and that's a ground ball up the middle and through to center field. Stopping at second is Mason. Loscano really charged that ball and was ready to throw to third, so Mason stopped at second. So that's Mickey Rivers' third consecutive hit. Remember that Mickey batted .312, so he earned it. He's not getting, freebie dice roll hits here. So it's runners on first and second, one out, and it's Munson. I'm sorry, it's White. And that ball is hit through the left side, and through to left field, and stopping at second. Stopping at third is Mason, so the bases are loaded now. Bases are loaded, there's only one out, and it's going to be Thurman Munson. Slayton is still in there. 3-0 Yanks here in the top of the seventh. It's going to be a 23, that's going to be a 26. The infield is going to be in. That may end up being a hit because of that. But we got to play the infield in at this point. Their second baseman is a 6, so he is poor. Fielder's choice, runner out at home with the infield in. So it's a 4-2. 4-2, so there's a fielder's choice. So the bases are still loaded. It's Rivers at third, White at second, Munson at first, and Chris Chambliss with 2 outs. Here's a pitch from Slayton. And that ball is going to be hammered into the gap, right center field gap, and Chambliss is hustling around first. In to score is Rivers, White, and Munson is going to stop at third. So it's a 2-run double by Chris Chambliss and makes the score 5-0 now. It's the pitch to Gamble. 53 is a 16. Loscano is a 2 with a runner on second. We already made an error out there. Should have made another one. That's going to be a single that falls in front of Loscano. And around second that scores Munson, and around second is Chambliss, and he's out at the plate. A beautiful throw by Loscano, and even a better relay by the second baseman, Pedro Garcia, gets Chambliss at home plate, and say an RBI single for Gamble, but it's the third out of the inning with that play at the plate. And after 6.5, it's going to be the Yanks 6 and the Brewers 0. So Catfish needs to go one more inning to become an A, he's a B now. Here's the pitch to Scott. Scott is 0 for 2. It's a 34. That ball is lined sharply, but right at the center fielder, Rivers, who makes the catch. Darryl Porter, 0 for 2 today. It's a 45, and that's ball 4. So Porter manages a walk on 4 straight pitches. And now it's Henry Hank Aaron, the Hammering Hank. Okay, this is the guy. This is the guy. We get to look at his card and play with him. Henry Louis Hammer, born in Mobile, Alabama. Bats right, throws right. 6 feet, 190 pounds. Here's the pitch to Hammering Hank. And he hits a slow ground ball to the shortstop, who fields it over to second for the fielder's. Oh, wait. Yes, for the fielder's choice. So 2 away now. And what's I going to say about Hank? Number 44. Listen, look at this. In about half of the season in 76, his last season, he played 85 games, he hits 10 home runs. So he was in line to hit 20 home runs had he played a full season with, let's say, 500 at-bats. So in his last season in the major leagues, I mean, his batting average was low at 229, but he would have hit 20 home runs, and if he would have doubled his RBI output, he would have had 70. Not too shabby for 1976. It's going to be 6 to Loscano with Aaron on at first on the fielder's choice, and that ball is hammered to left field. And that's going to roll to the wall. Aaron is going to stop at third. And that's a double for Sixto Lescano, second and third now. So Hunter's having some trouble here. Second and third, 2 out. It's going to be Bill Sharp. Here's the pitch to Sharp, 26. And I believe with second and third, that's going to be a strikeout. Let's see. Trying to do everything one-handed here. Holding these cards up to get the game moving along. And that is a strikeout. And that is strikeout number 3 for Hunter, and the third out of the inning. So the Brewers failed to score in the bottom of the 7th. They leave 2. And going to the top of the 8th, it's the Yankees 6, Brewers nothing. This is going to make Catfish Hunter an A pitcher now. So the Brewers are in for a tougher time of it. And Slayton is going to pitch to Nettles, Randolph, and Dempsey. Here's the pitch from Slayton, 4-3, ground ball to the first baseman. And he feeds it to Slayton, covering, 1 away. Randolph, 31, that's a ball hit up the middle and through for a base hit to center field. So Randolph on with a single. And it's going to be Dempsey. Dempsey, and that's 33, but that's going to be an... Oh, he gave up 5 runs. Were they all earned? Because then he's a C pitcher, and that would be a hit. 2 runs were earned. 3 runs were earned there. 2 runs were earned there. So he's a C pitcher, and that's going to be a single. And to third goes Randolph, first and third now. Let's see how many hits he's given up. 1. We may have to bring in a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, boy. All right. Let's look and see what's going on here. I'm going to go back to see who the guys they would bring in. I'm going to go to game 2 because actually in the original game, Slayton went the whole 9 innings, so they didn't bring anybody. So let's look at the following game, see if the Brewers bring anybody in and who those guys would be. Okay, so Eduardo Rodriguez is a guy that they would bring in. So let me find the Brewers' Eduardo Rodriguez. And I have a lot of cards here. It's about 30 cards. It feels like more than 30 cards, but I don't know that it could be. Does APBA produce more than sets with more than 30 cards? There's a lot of cards here, man. It's heavy. I wish my wallet were this heavy. What did I say? Who did I say I was looking for? Oh, Rodriguez. Okay, I just found him. There he is. Eduardo Rodriguez is going to come in without a sleeve right now. We'll get him a sleeve. But we're not touching the pitchers. So, we're not touching the pitchers. So it's all good in the hood, as they say. And, okay, so Rodriguez going to face Mason. And Rodriguez is a BYW. And here's the pitch to Mason. There's 1 out, runners on first and third. Infield is in, it's a 25. And it's a 6-2 double play. Oh, no. No. So it's just a fielder's choice at home plate. So the second out. And Dempsey the second. So it's first and second. Mickey Rivers, Mick the Quick, who's got 3 hits. He's 3 for 4 with 3 singles and a stolen base. Here's the pitch to Mick the Quick, and that's a 15 with runners on first and second. And that's going to be an 11 against a B pitcher. That's a single over second. One runner scores. So that's Mick the Quick's 4th hit, RBI. And batter steals second on next pitch. So there he goes. And he's safe at second base. Scoring was Dempsey. And Mason goes to third. So it's second and third now. It's Roy White against Rodriguez, Eduardo Rodriguez, who had a 3.64 ERA, and he was 5 wins and 13 losses. So what I can see, from what I can see, the Brewers had a pretty good pitching staff. So it's going to be Roy White here against Rodriguez. Here's the pitch to White. There's runners on second and third. It's 7-0 now, Yanks. And that's a 25. That's going to be a 10 with runners on second and third. Against a B pitcher, that's a single over third. One runner scores, other to third, both with 2 outs. Both runners score. So that's an RBI, a 2-run single by Roy White. Mason scores, and around third comes Rivers, and it is 9-0 now. 9-0 Yanks. With White on first, and it's going to be Thurman Munson. Thurman Munson is going to face Rodriguez, and he's 1 for 4 on the day. Rodriguez really hasn't done the job. He's faced 3 batters and given up 2 hits. That's a 41. That's a ground ball hit at the shortstop Yount, who flips to Garcia for the 4th out and the 3rd out of the inning. But the Yanks pick up 1, 2, should have had 3 runs. 3 runs on 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, and they lead it 9-0 going into the bottom of the 8th. Now, Catfish is an A pitcher, so you're going to watch how this works, and A pitchers are tremendous. You got tremendous power. Jim Catfish Hunter, I probably jinxed him by saying that, right? Okay, it's going to be Yount, 44, and that's going to be an out. It's a fly ball lifted to center field. 1 away. And it's going to be Garcia. Pete Garcia. Pete Garcia batted 204. He was traded to the Tigers. Played in 118 games. That's a 23. And that's a hard hit ground ball right at Nettles. Comes up with it. Takes his time. Throws out Garcia. And now it's going to be Charlie Moore. Charlie Moore is 1 for 3. He's a catcher who's playing left field. He's batting 191. And I guess they don't know that because he's leading off in the first game of the season. 31, and that's ball 4. So Catfish walks Moore with 2 outs. And it's going to be Don Money. Here's the pitch to Money. And Money is not Money. He hits a ground ball right at Mason, who flips to Randolph for the 4th and the 3rd out. And we go to the top of the 9th. 9-0 Yanks. Okay, it's going to be Chambliss, Gamble, and Nettles against Rodriguez. Here's a pitch to Chambliss. 13, and that's a strike. 36, and that's going to be a pop-up. Oh, no, excuse me. That's a swing and a miss. Strikeout. 1 away. Oscar Gamble. 36, and that's a swing and a miss. Strike 3. 2 strikeouts. So Chambliss and Gamble both go down. So Rodriguez seems to have a nice fastball. Throwing some heat. And that's a ground ball right at Money. Money takes his time and throws out Nettles for out number 3. We go to the bottom of the 9th, folks. 9-0 Yanks. And it's going to be Catfish Hunter vying for a shutout victory. So far, he's allowed That's his third hit, 3 hits in the game. So he's pitching a 3-hitter. He's walked 1, 2, and it's a 26 off of Scott. And that is a ground ball hit right at Nettles over to first. Sorry, wrong place. All right, Darrell Porter now 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. 5-3, and that's going to be a ground ball hit at Randolph and booted. Randolph makes his second error. And it's going to be Hammerin' Hank, 44. That's going to be an out. It's a ground ball to the first baseman, and he flips to Hunter covering. Over to second goes Porter. 2 away now. And it's going to be Lascano, 6 to Lascano. Here's the pitch to Lascano, 35. And that's a 9 against an 8 pitcher with a runner on second now. And that's ground ball. It's hit right at Mason. Mason across the diamond for out number 3. And Jim Catfish Hunter pitches a masterpiece. He walks 1, 2. So he pitches 9 innings, gives up 3 hits, walks 2, strikes out 1, 2, 3. And he gets the first victory for the Yanks of the season. They beat the Brewers by a score of 9-0 in the first game of the season. So this is our replay of the 1976 Yankees season. It's the first season I ever played tabletop baseball. So we're going down memory lane. And I'll talk a little bit about my memories every time I roll a game. So I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time playing with these 76 teams, and I can see what's going to happen to the players, where they're going to go, what they're going to become when they're just starting out, batting 200 or just playing half the season. You got guys like Robin Yount and Don Money and George Scott, and these guys are going to become monsters. And it's it's the first couple of seasons for them, so they're not there yet. But it's interesting and exciting to see their ball channel. And we'll be back soon with another game. Take care now.